How you doing today? I'm Mills Lane, and this is The Lane. The Lane is where we take a look at some of the most important stories for not only today, but tomorrow and the future as well. Please, if you have not already, please subscribe to this channel or even drop a like and share when you can. Uh, we are a modest channel and we survive off of donations and news and my ability to keep it pushing. So, without further ado, let's get ourselves started with our first story. Our first story.
Okay, here we go to get started. Please welcome Jam Master Jay.
Yes. New developments in the case involving the murder of Jam Master Jay, as two men have been charged with the murder of Jam Master Jay, born Jason Mizell, formerly of the group Run-D.M.C. Men named Ronald Washington and Carl Jordan Jr. are now charged in connection with his murder, which was around 18 years ago. I mean, it's a long time. Um, and back in 2002, we would think. So, what's interesting is Ronald Washington was already in prison for some other related murder figures, and Carl Jordan Jr. was taken into custody on Sunday. So, was background? He was murdered in what looked to be a recording studio, and it was just kind of went dry. We didn't have no motives, no leads. Jam Master Jay was not a legend. So he was moved way past his youth. He was a whole legend out here, and he ended up getting murdered, and it just was like dry because usually when we deal and hear about hip hop and rap murders and crimes, there's some type of background that could play a part, and this just didn't have any background. So you know, like I would tell people, you say there's always a shining light. Since Takashi's been out, a lot of people have been getting caught up there. So, but it seems from an outside's perspective, just going off of how things work for a man to already be in prison, um, he must have either told somebody or he's starting to tell, just trying to get save himself. But we will hear more because just today, both men have pleaded not guilty. So it's just the beginning of the story. It's pretty much came out today as far as the arrests. Background, like I said, Jam Master Jay, born Jason Mizell, was the DJ of the group Run-D.M.C. These guys came into prominence back in the early 80s to 83. Um, and they were signed to Profile Records. I think one of their first songs was It's Like That. Of course, Run, Joe Simmons, was the brother of Russell Simmons, who also went to form Def Jam Recording and, and helped make their rise to fame along with other groups, LL Cool J, Sheila E., and Beastie Boys, among others. So basically, Jay was the man. Jay had the street cred, um, and yeah, he was their DJ. And these guys, they kind of shied away from the fashion aspect, even though what they wore became fashionable nonetheless. So they were basically always a group until, of course, Jam Master Jay passes. Um, so with the DA in New York, there's like, no case. Nobody really wants to close any case or have a cold case. So they acted on the information they got, and hopefully this can help out for family members and, friends as well, children, get some closure in this case. So yes, there'll be more to come, I'm pretty sure. But we're just making sure that we are keeping a lot of those thoughts under control, and keeping Jay out there. So the next story in the lane is the Democratic convention just showed up. And it's like, hey, the Democratic convention? What do you mean a Democratic convention? Well, the Democratic convention is upon us, and Milwaukee was the lucky city to get the Democratic convention for 2020. What they didn't know, what none of us knew, was the reoccurring story of the pandemic and how, I'm pretty sure they've watched all of these different economies. Every 4 years, you have people showing up, tens of thousands of people needing tens of thousands of hotel rooms and tens of thousands of places to eat, and just a nice, vibrant economy as a result of the convention. But they were not as fortunate as those other years. And I'll just take a quick look at a breakdown about some of the things that's being said in regards to this Democratic convention. As, of course, Milwaukee is a very important stop.
Secretary
They hate this full
for
screen.
President Obama and an MSNBC political
Talk, then.
analyst. Robert, it's great to see you. Well, do you think they can pull this off?
Well, let me just say this.
This virtual convention, we're not on the floor of the convention. We're not in our usual positions, but we're going to be watching a show.
I don't get it. And with that, I give up. Yes, virtual Democratic convention. So, every year I take about 1 to 2 days to pay attention to the Democratic convention and the Republican National Convention. Just because, for historical merit. What I find interesting, like tonight, there's going to be Michelle Obama should do her speech tonight. So Michelle Obama's speeches at these conventions have been very important. As we know, one year, Melania Trump almost copied her word for word. She just threw in the word Republican instead of where Democrat was. But it just was pretty, they have these speeches given, and sometimes it's the same old, same old. You're probably going to hear from Bill Clinton and John Kerry, the same old Democrats, which doesn't really help their cause. Of course, the new vice president nominee, Kamala Harris, will speak, but we're talking about party politics, and when it not only shores up the base, but it's supposed to galvanize the moderates, who end up usually deciding a lot of these elections. Yes, there's a nice percentage of people who just either remain undecided or just very upset at the teams that's represented, and they usually decide to wait till the last minute to make their decision. Basically, it's like saying it's 40% Democrats, 40% Republicans, and then 20% undecided every year. So these conventions are supposed to rally up the remaining 20%, which is not easy. And you have to get them in particular states, like where we talked about earlier, Wisconsin. Sometimes it swings left, sometimes it swings right. A lot not Democrat, but a lot of the battleground states in this country, Florida, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin. These are some of the main battleground states, particularly that hold a substantial amount of electoral college votes that are necessary to win the presidency. So, like my computer decided to skip around, I'll skip around, going back to my original statement. The economy in Milwaukee would have loved to have, baseball stadiums filled with the baseball games, the Brewers. Um, you know, I guess the basketball season would have been done, so they at least can watch their Milwaukee Bucks play in basketball for the playoffs. Yes, but the economy, a lot of hotel rooms, just, I mean, what did they do? Did they cancel them and get refunds? And a lot of businesses that were expecting, they were vying, they were putting in money to help the government, vie for that state and that city to have the convention. So, tough luck of the draw. Um, Maybe they can get a redo. Um, if I was the leader of the Democratic National Convention Committee, I would give them the next one in 24, just because, you know. But so moving forward, we're in the middle of August, towards the end, and every year around this time, I'm fixing to watch some preseason NFL football. But unfortunately, due to yada, 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 there's no preseason football. It seems like the league is going to go directly into the first game, which will be the Texans versus the Chiefs, the Super Bowl champion Chiefs. And the date is scheduled for September the 10th. So we're less than a month away from the regular season football. So a lot goes on right now off the field, real quick, how the off the field works. A lot of men and women, they put together their knowledge of opening up the websites and reading and looking at stats and getting themselves prepared for fantasy football. You have a lot of men and women that want to gamble and take chances on, with their money and gambling on whether their team can will or will not win the Super Bowl. You have people taking time to, fill out suicide pools, and that's not in relation to any death. Suicide pool means you pick a team that should not lose for that weekend, and if you advance, you can continue, but you can't use that team anymore. That's basically it. And the last person standing wins. Or you can be like the real genius adults that do this for a living, and they're in their training camp period. So the NFL players, while they're not playing preseason football, they are in training camp. So what's special about this year, other than the COVID, is we have a player that plays for the Washington football team named Alex Smith. And Alex Smith had a serious injury a while back, and he has made it his business to get himself back ready and shape. And now his team, the Washington football team, has cleared him for football activity. So I had a look at this picture, the comeback starring Alex Smith. Yes, he was laying on the field, knowing that his leg was broken all hell. He got out there and started, and believe me, it's a serious surgery. It's like for the folks that may know a little bit about the NFL history, the Washington Redskins, what they were known as back then, they had a player named Joe Theismann, and he had a very serious injury to his leg as well. It was so serious it became career ending.
Step in his return from a gruesome leg injury, there are more steps he must take in order to regain the starting job he once had. It's likely that Smith will still be limited in practice even as he comes off the PUP list. Smith didn't suffer any setbacks, which is good for him. But as one member of the organization said, there was only so much they could determine by watching him work on the side with trainers. To fully know where he's at, this person said, they need to see him in an NFL pocket. And it could be some time before Washington puts him in those situations. Regardless, Smith's return is good for Washington. As one team source said recently, just having Smith out there will continue to push Dwayne Haskins.
Yeah. And now I was just about to get into that. Dwayne Haskins is the quarterback of the Washington football team. He got some starts last year on account of the injury, and he had a rough rookie season. Let's keep it real. And all right, I'll leave my fan bias out of this, but the Haskins has a chance to grow and become a good quarterback, preferably in some other division, not just in the division where the Philadelphia Eagles are. But just seeing Alex Smith doing his best to return is nothing short of phenomenal. So I'm glad he did, and it's also a great thanks to the doctors and nurses and staff that not only perform the surgeries, also his physical therapy and the Washington football team trainers and things of that nature that got him back on his feet. Back on his feet. Of course, how he moves around in a pocket, which is very important, will determine whether he's ready to actually step on the field or not. So with there not being any preseason games, it's going to be a tall task for him to prove his worth. He's a former Pro Bowler. He's taken his team to the AFC or NFC championship game before, so he's not a loser by any sorts. He just got struck with a serious injury, and only time will tell if he has the ability to make it back from said injury. I'm going to shoot off the top with this one. I wanted to start a new segment to end the show. So driving down the lane. Um, I was on the road this week, and I thought I did the right thing. Of course, I pulled over to send a text message. And when I got done sending the text message, I got up, re-entered the road, got up to speed, and two deer decided to run across the front of me. And I was lucky enough to step on the brake in time to prevent them from hitting me. But it's just a warning that even when going down the lane, you may think you have your feet under you, you have everything under control. There's things that just come out of thin air or shoot out from your blind spot. So you just have to be very, very, very careful when moving about on this planet. One false move and you're hitting a deer and you're going, damn it. So this is Mills Lane, and this has been another episode of The Lane. If you like our programming, please like, share, and subscribe. And donations, of course, are always appreciated at Cash App, $ Mills Lane ACT. We're planning on another episode of American Culture Topics on Thursday at 7 p.m. Our usual go time is Thursdays at 7 p.m. We'll go live. I noticed we have some interesting comments in the chats. So you get in there, enjoy the chat, enjoy Trap Gardner, enjoy Mills Lane as we embark on our next journey. So for all of that, I'm Mills Lane, and you've just watched The Lane. Take care of yourself.